Meno-rage, where you might wake up feeling fine, and by afternoon, you're snapping over the dishwasher. You're going to just take that dishwasher out because, doggone it, that inanimate object is trying to wreck you.
Mhm.
You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're changing. And that change can feel like rage, grief, confusion, and even liberation, all in the same day. Welcome to the Midlife Mavens, where your hosts, myself, Denise, and Cynthia. And today's episode is a powerful, honest, and emotionally intelligent one that explores meno-rage and its impact on relationships, marriage, during menopause, and menopause.
Yeah.
So, Cynthia, I see you have a new haircut today. So, how are you feeling about that, my friend?
I feel like Dora the Explorer is going through perimenopause. And
That's a
I look like it too.
Oh, it
Yeah.
looks very cute. I know it's not how you prefer your hair, but it's very cute.
I did go in there for a haircut and something drastic, but this was not it. It was supposed to be like to here.
Oh,
And I had to really try to refrain from crying in front of the lady when I left the salon, but I got in the car and texted my husband and I was like, "Don't make fun of me when I get home because I'm on the brink of tears." He was just like,
um,
"Send me a picture," and I refused to send him a picture because I didn't want physical evidence of it. Yet here I am.
so here we are doing a show. So there is going to never be any physical evidence of this
Oh,
Dora the Explorer haircut.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and it's kind of bringing this up a little bit. I know you're my Virgo friend and you've got a birthday coming up.
Mhm.
And that also kind of plays into this feeling of meno rage or wanting a drastic change, especially when we approach a birthday and if it happens to be a big birthday.
And it is a big birthday. I'm turning 50 on the 19th of September. And so, yeah, I did want a new look. I wanted something to be spruced up. With perimenopause, I've been like just shedding hair for the last like couple of years. If I didn't have like a full lion's mane when I started out, I probably would look like that little Lord of the Rings crazy guy with the like, three hairs on him at this point. Like that's how much hair I've lost. So that's why I went to go and have the haircut. I wanted something a little bit shorter and like lighter and fluffier, and I wound up with Exploradora.
Well, for the good news, my presumption is that this is the way she styled it. So maybe once you wash it and you get your own hands on it, it might not be so Dora-ish.
My friend, this was me styling it. I looked 10 times worse when I got home.
Oh, I'm going to stop talking right now.
This was me trying to fix it, and then my daughter was like, "Mom, you look like you have like a Lego head."
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So we're just going to roll with it. I'm going to turn up the volume on the biotin and the keratin and the colostrum and the
all the things.
all of the things that I already take. The fistfuls of. They're like stepping up their game. Fingers crossed that I have another inch of hair by Halloween.
Perfect. Would you just walk around and just stretch it? Just pull it down.
I'm already doing it. Nothing back there. This feels so weird, so boring.
Oh, that's such a feeling.
Yes, yes. I haven't had hair this short in 30 years. Like back when 90210 was on TV, I wanted that cute little like Kelly pixie hair. And then that's when I learned that my face is too round to have pixie hair. So then I never did that ever again until today.
Well, today wasn't intentional, however.
But anyhow, let's move on away from my Lego football Dora the Explorer hair.
And on to the next thing. But, for the good news, there was no meno-rage involved at the salon.
There was no meno-rage at the salon. There was a little bit in the car on the drive home. Definitely went through like the gamuts of, you wanted a change. This is definitely a change. Let's look on the positive side.
Well, that kind of goes back to our intro, doesn't it? Where you can have all of these things in a day, but sometimes you can have them all in about a half an hour.
Yeah, yeah. I think the drive from town back home is about 15 minutes, so I think I hit them all in 15 minutes.
There you go. Perfect. We perfect segue into the into this show for today.
Oh, for sure. But look, whether this episode you're finding some humor in it, or there might be things that we discuss along the way today that maybe bring up feelings of your own, where you have had some meno-rage, where you feel a little bit of grief, where you feel that disconnection. Just know that you are not alone in what you're going through. It's becoming a little bit more of a topic for us to reach out to one another and talk about, which I think is a fantastic thing. This helps us know that we're not alone, know that these symptoms that we have, whether it's going from like the rage to like the itchy ears or the dry skin or whatever, that we're seeing in this, instead of just being like, I'm falling apart, and I should just like stay like in a little cocoon, or on the couch with a blanket wrapped around my head. So just know that you are seen. We see you. You see us, and we're going to be very like frank and honest about things in this show. The Midlife Mavens, because that's what we're here to do: is share the truth of what's going on, and to help each other along the way. So Denise, you want to kick off the menno rage topic and
Yes.
what it brings about?
So today we're going to dive into this topic. It's a raw topic, it's real, and it's often whispered about behind closed doors. And that's meno-rage. And let's start with the truth. Perimenopause and menopause aren't just physical transitions. They're emotional earthquakes. They can up level your life, and I don't mean in a good way. I mean like upheaval, I guess is the word I'm looking for. There's another meno thing, forgetting your words, using the wrong words. I'm like, yeah, I just kind of go, yeah, that's what I said, and it's not really what I meant. So if you're menopausal, perimenopausal, you'll figure it out because you're kind of there on the same page. And then you throw some ADHD in there, and then I'm a train wreck. But I digress. So anyhow, what is meno-rage? It's the sudden, intense irritability or anger that can surface during hormonal shifts. And once our periods start to move around the way they do, our hormones are no longer level. So we can't plan for those things anymore. And it's not just moodiness. It's a full body, full heart experience that can feel uncontrollable. Like I'll use myself for an example today. I'm trying to put the milk in the cooler at work, and the lid kept hitting me in the head, and I was like, I had a lot of things to say. There was no students around, so it was good. But you know what? It was just like, and you catch yourself, and you're like, well, why did I react that way? Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's not only messing with the things that you've got going on, like, fighting inanimate objects or your hair, but it also is affecting your relationships with your kids, with some of your coworkers, maybe your best friend. And if you've got a partner at home, definitely to that partner. Anybody close to you, this thing of perimenopause and menopause just comes colliding in. It's like a meteor. It's just, look out. You don't know whether it's going to be a small meteor or if it's going to be like a giant one. It's coming in, and it's coming in hot. And I think it's like hit the nail on the head, Denise, when you said that it's not like when you are, in your cycle, that this week or these 3 days are going to be like crazy town.
Yeah.
You have no preparation. It just hits you out of nowhere, and yeah, it just comes in hot, and then we're left holding the bag. um so some of the ways that it can affect your relationships, and I'm going to talk on marriage specifically, is about like your intimacy, your connection feeling very, very distant or non-existent. Communication with your partner starts to break down. Once upon a time, they could anticipate when you were going to be on your cycle, and to kind of, tip each other around that, or be helpful, go get you, some chocolate or something like that, or take you to your favorite place for supper. And now they don't know like what to do. Like they don't know if you're coming or going. They don't know if they should be going or coming. It gets a little wild and wacky. I know, my poor husband once upon a time could read my mind, which, yay, I'm glad for. But when Perry hit, No, he had no idea. And the thing was is that I had no idea. I didn't know why I was behaving the way I was behaving. And of course, we've said this before, like doctors don't tell you you're in perimenopause. They tell you that, well, you're not having hot flashes and so you can't be in it or you're too young or, they're not looking at your entire spectrum of what you've got going on. So, you don't know what's happening either. So you don't have the proper tools to use, and then in your relationship, resentment starts to build, right? You're resentful because they're not doing the things that you want them to do. And it could be because you're not vocalizing. That was definitely me. I was not vocalizing. And then your partner doesn't know what they're supposed to do and when they're supposed to do it either. The communication is just poof. You talk about two ships passing in the night. Sometimes it's they pass and they collide and they sink. And the thing is that we need to reframe this. This isn't about, ending things. It's really about a call of like, how do we now um, mitigate this and start working together in this process?
Right. And it's so important when we start to look at that because it really does start to affect all of your relationships. And, so how do we navigate this storm? Well, the first thing that we need to do is actually recognize it and name it and don't be ashamed about it. Like PMS has gotten such a bad rap. Oh, you're just PMSing, right? Well, it's kind of the same thing. It's like you have to say meno-rage. You've got to make it normal because we all feel this way. And I think what's really challenging is for women who may have been into forced menopause or perimenopause by some type of procedure or health issues or things like that. And nobody tells them how to navigate this. And they might be even, technically too young for perimenopause, but now all of a sudden they're thrust into this and they feel like they're just coming unhinged and they're like, why am I going off the rails? And I don't even understand this. And so you've got to reach out to each other and understand you're not the only one feeling this way.
No, no. And in that, being able to share that, you need to be able to communicate with the people around you and let them know, like I'm not okay today. Like I'm having a rough go. Uh I got mad at the dishwasher because the door wouldn't stay closed, or I'm mad because my washing machine stinks and I can't get rid of the smell.
But
you know,
those are things though, right?
that's stuff, that's whatever, and it's easy that you can just let somebody know, look, it's not you, it's me. Something is shifting inside of me and I don't know what it is today, but please understand that it's not you, and I'm sorry if I lash out or if I didn't think before I spoke.
Yeah. Because sometimes it just doesn't, there's not a filter. It just, so then the next thing you really want to work on is rebuilding intimacy through being honest. And intimacy can also be with a friend or a coworker. It's not just a romantic partner because we want to understand this because a lot of times what ends up happening is that relationships start to break down before the romantic relationship starts to break down. So if you start to see that, this is giving you that kind of that blueprint, right? That you can kind of look at this. And it also gives you the opportunity to redefine what love is for you and how does that look? And it's a chance for you to really express yourself and create that love that you really do want and not just survive at the end and everybody's like, oh my gosh, wow, you've been married for 65 years and you're like, yeah, I don't hate this son of a gun, you know what I mean? And it's like, and that's not what you want because you really want somebody, especially if you are someone that had children and your children leave the house, it is just the two of you and you're standing there looking at each other and you're just like, holy crap. And you've got to find somebody that's willing to grow with you to help you understand. And I'm sure men have their own version. I'm just not familiar with that. I'm not an expert on being a man. I'm not one. And and through this chapter in your life, you can actually create a deeper bond than you had when you first even started dating and you thought you couldn't live out without this person. And I know for me, one of the things that could have changed things is if I really understood, because at the time I was going through perimenopause. And again, I know I've reiterated this multiple times. Nobody, no doctor, nobody ever went to said anything. I would complain about my cycle and how heavy it was and this and that. Not one person, not one doctor, not one anybody suggested testing for hormones. And so, and through this process, I'm raising my family. My ex-husband's mother was ill and my mother was ill and everybody was sick at the same time, and I'm trying to raise kids and I'm coming unhinged at the seams. And so uh, I like shoved him onto the back burner. I'm like, I can't even deal with you right now, and because of my actions, I'm sure he just started like, oh, I'm not saying anything because I don't know if she's gonna bite my head off or say hi, welcome home, and
Yeah.
and that's really where it was. And I'm not so sure that had I understood what was going on, because even at the time I was going to therapy, but because none of this was talked about, this didn't even come up in therapy. And my therapist was probably a little bit older than I was, and I'm not saying that she should have thought about this, but there are therapists out there now that actually specialize in menopausal women because our issues really are different. And to understand how we can move through our life now in a different way, because you want that partner that you can do things with. You still want to have an intimate relationship with your partner. And you also want to both be able to understand, like, yeah, today I am just sucking at life and I don't want to even think about that, but maybe we can revisit that tomorrow, But now you've got the communication that you can have that honest conversation, right? And and you both get to evolve into this place that's becomes a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. I can attest that I handled things very similarly as you. Like everything was going on, and I took the person who was always there on my side and pushed him to the back because I just figured you'll figure it out. You don't need me to figure it out. You'll figure it out. Then you'll let me know what I got to do. And in my meno-rage, at the same time, when I pushed him away, I wanted him to then fix me as well. Like, let me know what you come up with,
Yeah.
because I can't deal with my own self at this point.
Right.
And so we had some, difficult, really difficult times. And Denise and I have discussed, like, we'll get into it at a later point a little bit deeper, but I can let you know that we were at the brink of divorce. And my husband will say, like, I put you at the crossroads where you were, but you made the choices that you did. And so in that, like, where we were falling apart, we finally just stopped and said, these things have taken place. How do we fix this? How do we repair this? Can we repair this? And so my husband and I have been in therapy for the last year, fixing, like, working on ourselves, but also working on our marriage because, yeah, the communication, the resentment, the distance, I don't know. I used to tell him, like, I feel like we're just roommates. And he didn't see it that way. He was like, no, you're my wife, you're my partner, you're my best friend. And I'm just like, but I don't feel like that.
Hmm.
And it wasn't that he was being dismissive. He truly did not feel that way, but I did. But I had such a difficult time saying, this is why I feel disconnected, or, these things are taking place inside of me and I feel disconnected from within myself. So how can I connect with you if I can't even connect with myself right now? Um, and so I shared that little tidbit with y'all because, look, our stories, they're not rare. I've spoken with many women who have shared what they have experienced or what they're going through. I can tell you that I can hear somebody tell me something and I can see bits of myself in themselves. And I have to kind of like pull back and hesitate from like just like telling them like, don't do that. That's gonna ruin everything.
Right. You're like, trust me, I know from personal experience.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
So then I just kind of like, oh. So maybe you might want to try blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we share this, because in this time, the things that we're feeling, we're not being selfish in our feelings. Um, it's just that sometimes we're starving for this connection. We're starving for finding this new part of our identity because that old one doesn't fit anymore.
Mhm.
And then it's hard. And we just need something that just tells us you're still you, you're still in there. You just like cracking open to be something else. You've gone from this little egg and there's this cute fluffy chick that's ready to pop out. And so, in this like, relationship, whether, you're in this season with us or you're already past it, life's messy. It just that's a fact. It's painful, it's complicated, but it's asking you that whatever has been lost, whatever has been buried and is resurfacing, right now is the time for you to go ahead and reclaim that and make it a better version than what it was before. That's definitely what I can say that I have done, and I'm very proud of the work that I've put into it to become this Cynthia 2.0.